Salam alaikum. Brothers and sisters, we are very happy to see so many of you out on such a foggy night, and we hope that we haven't kept you too long, but a very good friend of mine and a good friend of yours, a good friend of ours, is on his way here, and I didn't want to have too much to say in front of him because he's a person whose actions in the past have actually spoken for themselves. And he's a master of revolution, and we're living in a revolutionary world and in a revolutionary age, and you and I have never met a real dyed-in-the-wool black revolutionary before, so tonight we want to unveil one. Also, I should explain that one of the reasons that the meeting started late, we had a movie, and right now I'm wrestling with this American mic. We had a movie that we wanted to show on the Congo, which I believe you would have enjoyed, and it would have also set the tone for what our guests will have to say when he arrives. But due to technical difficulties, which are to be expected in a highly technical society that's kind of running out of gas, we couldn't show the movie, but we will show it at a later date. And either this microphone is way off or I'm getting weak. The purpose of our meeting tonight, as it was announced, was to show the relationship between the struggle that is going on the African continent, and the struggle that's going on the African continent, and the struggle that's going on among the Afro-Americans here in this country. And I, for one, would like to impress upon, especially those who call themselves leaders, the importance of realizing the direct connection between the struggle of the Afro-American in this country and the struggle of our people all over the world. As long as we think, as one of my good brothers mentioned out of the side of his mouth here a couple Sundays ago, that we should get Mississippi straightened out before we worry about the Congo, you'll never get Mississippi straightened out until you start realizing your connection with the Congo. We have to realize what part our struggle has in the overall world struggle. Secondly, we need allies. And as long as you and I think that we can only get allies from the Bronx, or allies, from up on the Grand Concourse, where you don't live. As long as you and I think that that's the only source or area from which we can get allies, our source of allies is limited. But when we realize how large this earth is and how many different people there are on it and how closely they resemble us, then when we turn to them for some form of help or aid or to form allies, then we'll make a little faster progress. And before our visitor gets here, I think it's important to show you and me the importance of keeping an open mind. You will be surprised how fast, how easy it is for someone to steal your and my mind. You don't think so. We never like to think in terms of being dumb enough to let someone put something over on us in a very deceitful and tricky way. But you and I are living in a very deceitful and tricky society. A very deceitful and tricky country, which has a very deceitful and tricky government. All of them in it aren't tricky and deceitful, but most of them are. And anytime you have a government in which most of them are deceitful and tricky, you have to be on guard at all times. You have to know how they work this deceit and how they work these tricks. Otherwise, you find yourself in a bind. And one of the best ways to get around or to safeguard being deceived is always form the habit of looking at things for yourself, listening to things for yourself, thinking for yourself before you try and come to any judgment. Never base your judgment of someone upon what someone else has said, or upon what someone else has written, from what you read about someone that somebody else wrote. Never base your judgment on things like that, especially in this kind of country. And in this kind of society, which has mastered the art of very deceitfully painting images of people whom they don't like, in an image that they know you won't like. So you end up hating your friends and loving their enemies. Example, I was flying from Algiers to Geneva about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and seated beside me on the airplane were a couple of Americans, both white, one a male and the other a female. One was an interpreter who worked in Geneva for the United Nations. The other was a girl who worked in one of the embassies in Algeria, some part of Algeria. We conversed for about 40 or 45 minutes, and then the lady, she says, may I ask you a personal question? I said, yes. Of course, they always do anyway. She said, what kind of name, last name did you have that begins with S? I said, that's it, S. So she said, S? Yes, S. Well, what's your first name? I said, well, Malcolm X. Well, she waited about 10 minutes, and then she said, you're not Malcolm X. I said, yes, I'm Malcolm X. Why? What's the name? She said, well, you're not what I was looking for. And what you were looking for was what the newspapers, the press, had created. She was looking for the image that the press had created. Somebody with some horns, that's about to kill all the white people, as if you could kill all of them, or as if you shouldn't. She was looking for someone who was a rabble-rouser, who couldn't even converse with people with blue eyes, someone that was irrational and things of that sort. Well, I take time to point this out because it shows how skillfully someone can take a newspaper and create an image of someone so that before you even meet them, you'll run. You don't even want to hear what they have to say. You don't even know them. All you know is what the press has had to say. And the press is white. And when I say the press is white, I mean it is white. And it's dangerous. The FBI can feed information to the press to make your neighbor think you are something subversive. The FBI, they do it very skillfully. They maneuver the press on a national scale. And the CIA maneuvers the press on an international scale. They do all their dirt with the press. Get the newspapers and make the newspapers blow you and me up as if all of us are criminals. All of us are rapists, or all of us are drug addicts, or all of us are rioting. This is how they do it. When you explode legitimately against injustices that they heap upon you, they use the press to make it look like you're a vandal. And if you were a vandal, you have a right to be a vandal. They master this imagery, this image making. They give you the image of an extremist, and from then on, anything you do is extreme. It's an extremist. You can pull a baby out of the water and save it from drowning. You're still an extremist. Because they've projected this image of you. They can create an image of you as a subversive. You can go out and die fighting for the United States. You're still subversive. Because the press has made you a subversive. They can paint the image of you as being someone irresponsible. And you can come up with the best program that will save the black man from the oppression of the white man. And when I say oppression, that's what oppression comes from, the white man. There's some oppressive black people, but they're only doing what the white man is taught. And when I say that, I'm not just blanketly condemning all white people. All of them don't oppress. All of them are in a position. But most of them are, and most of them do. The press is so powerful in its image-making role, it can make a criminal look like he's the victim, and make the victim look like he's the criminal. This is the press, an irresponsible press. Will make a criminal look like he's the victim, and the victim look like he's the criminal. And if you aren't careful, the newspaper will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppression. If you aren't careful, yeah, because I've seen some of you get caught in that day. You run around hating yourself and loving the man, and you catching hell from the man. You let the man maneuver you into thinking that it's wrong to fight him when he's fighting you. He's fighting you. Fighting you in the morning, fighting you in the noon, and fighting you at night, and fighting you all in between. And you still think it's wrong to fight him back. Why? The press. The newspapers make you look wrong. Long as you take a beating, you're all right. Long as you get your head busted, you're all right. Long as you let his dog fight you, you're all right. Because that press, that image-making press, that thing is dangerous if you don't guard yourself against it. It'll make you love the criminal, I say, and hate the one who's the victim of the criminal. A good example is the Congo, the area of Africa that our guest is on his way is going to talk to us about. A good example of what the press can do with its images. Right now, in the Congo, defenseless villages are being bombed. Black women and children and babies are being blown to bits by airplanes. Yeah? Where do these airplanes come from? The United States. The United States, yes. And you won't write that. You won't write that American planes are blowing the flesh loose from the bodies of black women and black babies and black men? No. Why? Because they're American planes. And as long as they're American planes, that's humanitarian. As long as they're being piloted by anti-Castro Cubans, that makes it all right. Because Castro's a villain, and anybody who's against him, whatever they do, that's humanitarian. You see how tricky they are? American planes, anti-Castro Cuban pilots, dropping bombs on African villages that have no defense against bombs. There's no need to bomb them if they have no defense against bombs, and blowing black women to bits. When you drop a bomb, you don't look to see where it explodes. They do the same. You know, if they drop it on the Japanese in Hiroshima, they don't even think about dropping it on Congolese. And you running around here getting all upset because a few white hostages died. You're out of your mind. Out of your mind. They make murder. They take the press with their images, their ability to control you with image making. They make mass murder. Mass murder, cold-blooded murder, look like a humanitarian project. All these thousands of black people dying and butchered, and you have no compassion in your heart whatsoever for them, because the victim has been made to look like he's the criminal. And the criminal has been made to look like he's the victim. Why, you and I should go on the rampage. I mean on the rampage. Intelligently. Let's just take it one step farther before our guests arrive. To show you how they use this image making through the press. And I'm not just condemning the press, because some of them are all right, but most of them aren't. Take Stoney. That's a man that you should never let set foot in America. No. That man should never, that's the worst African that was ever born. The worst African that was ever born. He's a cold-blooded murderer. He murdered Patrice Lumumba, the rightful Prime Minister of the Congo. And what has America done? Has used her press to give Stoney a good image. Yes, the American press. Take this man who's a murderer, cold-blooded murderer. Didn't murder just somebody, murdered the prime minister. And they're going to use their press to make this man acceptable to the world. He'll never be acceptable to the world. The world is not that dumb. It's not that easily fooled. Now, some of us in this country may be dumb, but not all of us. Just some of us. And those that haven't been fooled will do whatever is necessary to keep that man from setting foot on this country. He should be afraid to come here. He should think a long time before he comes here. Why? Because they told you and me we came from the Congo. I mean, isn't that what they taught us in school? That we came from the Congo. These savages and cannibals and all that kind of stuff from the Congo. Okay, so since you taught me all my life I'm from the Congo, I love the Congo. That's my property. And that's my people that your airplanes are killing over there. They take Gandhi, they chop him up with American dollars. They glorify his image with the American press. What's the first thing he does? Now, Gandhi's a murderer. He has been hired by the United States to rule the Congo. Yeah, that's all it boils down to. You can put it in a whole lot of pretty language, but we don't want pretty language for a nasty situation. He's a murderer who has been hired by the United States government and is being paid by your tax dollars, with your tax dollars, by the United States government. And to show you what since he is a hired killer, what's the first thing he did? He hired more killers. He went and got the mercenaries from South Africa. And what is a mercenary? A hired killer. That's all a mercenary is. The anti-Castro Cuban pilots, what are they? Mercenaries. Hired killers. Who hired them? The United States. Who hired the killer from South Africa? The United States. They just used Gandhi to do it. Just like, they do with us in this country. They get an old Negro and hire him and make him a big shot. And so he's the voice in the community, and he tells all of them, come on in and join the organization with us, and they take it over. Then they give him peace prizes and medals and things. They will probably give Gandhi the peace prize next year for the work that he's doing. I expect him to. He'll be the Nobel Peace Prize winner next year because he's doing a good job. But for whom? For the man. So these mercenaries come in, and again, what makes the mercenaries acceptable? The press. The press doesn't refer to them as hired killers. The press doesn't refer to them as murderers. The press refers to the brothers in Stanleyville who are defending their country as rebels, rebels, savages, cannibals. Think of this what the press are. Boy, you know, brother, the press has a grave responsibility. And it also has the responsibility sometimes as an accessory. Because if it allows itself to be used to make criminals look like victims and victims look like criminals, then the press is an accessory to the same crime. They are permitting themselves to be used as a weapon against the innocent and as a weapon in the hands of those that are actually guilty. So I cite this tonight before our guest comes, and as I was told 10 minutes ago that he should be here in 10 minutes. I cite this to show you that just as they do it on an international level, they also do it with us. Anytime black people in this country are not able to be controlled by the man, they immediately begin to label those black people as irresponsible or as extremists. They put all these old negative labels up there, and you and I do the same thing. We draw back from it. Not because we know anything about them, but we draw back because of the image of them that the man has created. And if you notice, everyone who takes a firm, uncompromising stand against the man. And when I say the man, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the man that lynches, the man that segregates, the man that discriminates, the man that oppresses and exploits, the man that won't let you and me have quality education, facilities here in Harlem. That man. Now, whoever he is, that's who I'm talking about. I have to talk about him like this, because if I talk about him any closer, they'll call me a racist. And I'm not a racist. I'm not against somebody because of their race, but I'm sure against them because of what they're doing. And if they're doing wrong, we should waste it. What by any means necessary. If you'll notice, as long as these blacks in the Congo were being slaughtered, mass scale, there was no outcry. But as soon as a few whites, the lives of a few whites were involved, the whole world became in an uproar. But what caused the world to become involved in an uproar? The press. The press made it appear that here, 2,000 lives, white people are being held hostage. And they started crying and big headlines, 80 of them were killed. Now the Africans didn't kill any of them. The brothers there in Sandyville didn't kill any of them until the paratroopers landed. If the paratroopers hadn't invaded their property, nobody would have been killed. They hadn't killed, and many people say that it wasn't the brothers in Sandyville that killed them. Those paratroopers and mercenaries, they started shooting at everybody. You think I'm speaking? I was in London last Sunday, and in the Daily Express, a white writer, and I must say white because if I don't specify that this is a white man writing this, you think that I wrote it, or some black man wrote it. Look what he says here in the Daily Express, which is a far from left newspaper, far from liberal. A dust, it's written by some Walter Parkinson from Sandyville, just after the paratroopers had dropped, he says, a dust strike by cannon firing B-28, these are airplanes, flown by Cuban mercenaries. Think of it, hired killers from Cuba. Hired by whom? The Americans. All you living in our country that want to pay for the sins that it has committed. It blew up the rebels' warehouse headquarters and killed the mortar crew. Yet, more Chinese-made mortar shells are still arriving. See, they throw this Chinese thing in there that makes it prejudice. They don't know whether it's Chinese mortar, but that's how the press does it. It always has words to justify their destruction of the people that they're destroying. At 7 a.m., troops with Belgian mercenary armor and the Congo Army's Diablos paratroopers rode into the gunpowder-caked native city of Belgium. The troops spotted rebels preparing to open fire from a house. Now pick up on this. And smashed their way in, battering down doors and dragging out men, women, and children. Now there wasn't rebels in the house. These were just black Congolese in the house. And to justify going in and dragging them out and murdering them on the spot, they've got to call them rebels. And this is the kind of operation that's going on in the Congo, and you don't hear these Negro leaders saying anything about it. Now, I know you don't like me to use the word Negro, but when I use it in that sense, that's what I'm talking about. Negro leaders. Because that's what they are. Those aren't Afro-American leaders, those are Negro leaders. N-E-G-R capital O. A Belgian colonel snatched the camera from a distressed photographer and said, "You're both under house arrest, and we'll report you on the next plane." Why didn't he want picture taken? He said, "You're both under house arrest, and we'll report you on the next plane." Why didn't he want picture taken? They didn't want picture taken of what they were doing. The column moved on, and by noon, 10,000 men, women, and children were crushed neck to neck under a blazing sun and ringed by Congo Army troops armed with Tommy guns. To protect them from the sicker, happy Congo Army, there were white head bandages around 10,000 heads. Around 10,000 heads. For this is a black and white city. Think about it. Anyone without the bandage is shot. The bandage distinguishes those already screened or about to be given the treatment. And there are mounds of dead bodies everywhere to indicate those found wanting. Meaning any Congolese without the bandage around his head was shot on sight indiscriminately. And this is being written by a white reporter who was not pro-Congolese at all. He's just telling the story as it actually is. Mass murder, wholesale murder of black people by white people who are using some black mercenaries to also do it. Southern Commando's pet nigger, which is a little black goat. They had a little black, this white mercenary had a little black goat that he named Nigger, which is the way they do. Anything black they name it nigger. They name you nigger, didn't they? Sure. Now, I see one coming right now. Here comes my nigger. Dick Gregory. Hey, Dick. Come on up here. Come on up here. Come on up here, Dick. Come on up here, Dick. We're going to get Dick investigated. I heard Dick on the Let's Scream show the other night talking about niggers. Say, Dick, look what he said there. All right, here's my man. Y'all take a good look at it. Come on, I'm going to get him investigated. Get him, brother. Don't let him get away. He's going to lose all his jobs now. You won't get another booking. You'll have to work in Harlem the rest of your life. So look what he says. Today, 2,000 dogs seized the commando's pet nigger, a little black kid goat. When we got there, the nigger was dying. And John Peters shot him, and he turned away with tears in his eyes. Here's a white mercenary that has been killing so many Congolese, they had to stack him up. With no compassion at all, he shot him down. But as soon as his little black goat was bitten by some dogs, he cried. He had more feeling. This is a white man, an Englishman, had more feeling in his heart for a dead goat that was black than he had for all those facts of Congolese who look just like you and me and Dick Gregory. So I say, brothers and sisters, that it's not a case of worrying about what's going on in Africa before we get things laid over here, but it's a case of realizing that the Afro-American problem is not a Negro problem or an American problem, but it's a human problem. The problem for humanity. And when you realize, when you look at your and my problem in the context of the entire world, and see that it is a world problem, and that there are other people on this earth who look just like we do, who also have the same problem, then you and I become allies, and we can put forth our efforts in a way to get the best result. Now, many of you earlier, Dick, I told him that a friend of mine from Africa, who was a real dyed-in-the-wool Cuban revolutionary, was on his way here. And when you walked in, they thought I was talking about you. Well, Dick is. He wasn't the one I was talking about, but Dick is a revolutionary. And Dick is dyed-in-the-wool African. He don't want to be, but he is. I don't mean dyed-in-the-wool, I mean African. But Dick is one of the foremost freedom fighters in this country. I think, yes. I say that in all sincerity. Dick has been on the battlefront and probably has made a greater sacrifice in that by taking the stand that he has, I'm quite certain that it has alienated many of the people who were alienated from him before he began to take this stand. And whenever you see a person, a celebrity who is as widely known as he, and who is as skilled in his profession as Dick, and at the same time has access to almost unlimited bookings, which provides unlimited income, and he will jeopardize all of that in order to jump into the front lines of the battle, then you and I have to stand behind him. And And I want Dick also to hear our brother who's coming, so before he gets here, I think Dick better talk to him. Come on, Dick. Dick Gregory. Without the cigarette.
Yeah, I'd like to say thanks very much, Brother Malcolm, and I'd like for you to know one thing. You will be too right to be called me nigger.
I don't play that.
Name should you be gone? It sure is a pleasure being here. It sure is nice having you back home. Were you in town when you made the cover of the Saturday Evening Post?
I was hiding out, man.
They had a picture of you in a zoot suit. And I know that underneath the picture, I guess they was explaining it to white folks. Because it said zoot suit and red corn. I know they didn't have to explain that to us. But sure it's nice having you back. And, well, we got the things that you have to take care of before you leave again. You know, we had 4 rides here while you was gone. So I want you to be around here to be more Christmas night. Yeah, Jed Hoover just started acting up again. Yeah, he just started acting up and just got a little bit beside himself lately. Because now, what people say about the FBI is true and true. If you don't believe me, follow me down to Mississippi next time. Well, I remember one day we was trapped in the alley with the Ku Klux Klan on one end and the FBI on the other, and we flipped the coin to decide which way we was going to go. Because I really don't feel sorry for colored folks with the FBI. I feel sorry for white folks with the FBI. Because if the FBI is doing is they really coming off the beat, white folks in trouble. I mean, when you stop and think about one of them old racial killings is about the easiest thing to solve in the world, because wasn't too much planning put into it, a lot of impulse, senators in that plan 7 years just to get the card on to be used. So you can see what they might could scheme up and do something to get away with it. One of them rednecks down there is going to kill somebody, and the #1 law enforcement agency in the world in 9 months haven't found out who did it and what happened. Then if them idiots can trick them that much, I wonder what the espionage boys are getting away with. And then Hoover came out the other day and he announced that the FBI has started infiltrating the Ku Klux Klan. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't mind my tax money going for missiles, but I'll be damned if I don't want to buy some seeds. And when Hoover said he got his FBI agents infiltrating the Ku Klux Klan, all that really meant to me is he's paying them back, because the Ku Klux Klan had already infiltrated the FBI. You know, I really hate this. You talking about you might get me investigated. I really hate to put down the whole FBI, but Jed Hoover is the FBI. And I never trusted this individual. Now, I mean that. I don't trust Hoover for a whole lot of reasons. One of them, the thought he's 70 years old and never been married, I couldn't trust him. I mean, there's two cats I ain't never trusted, and that's Sid Hoover and Billy Graham. That's right. Now, I tell you who I do get. I did Brother Old Roberts. You ever caught Brother Old Roberts out of Tulsa, Oklahoma? He up the hill. Said to touch the radio and touch the TV and heal folks. You ever seen it? He's something else, too, ain't it? That's it. I seen Brother Earl Roberts heal a humpback cat of dandruff one time. He didn't do nothing for the hump, but the cat don't scratch no more. I dig Brother Earl Roberts. Have you ever caught Brother Earl Roberts? Have you ever heard him when he say, touch the radio? Have you ever touched the radio? Did you feel different? Yeah, that's right. Let me tell you how I happened to get introduced to Brother Earl Roberts. When I was young and used to smoke pot, and the cat got in behind me, and I rushed home and threw it in the back of the radio in the tube, and forgot where I put it. And it was about 3 months later, I popped on the radio, and Brother Earl Roberts said, touch the radio and feel different, brother. Oh, yeah, I've been digging Brother Earl Roberts ever since. Let me tell you about this. Now, the FBI taps my phone. Every now and then they follow me around. And they that FBI even had to lay off my case the other day. But he been following me so long, he started acting cool. I mean, he walked into the biggest restaurant in town and ordered some chicken. It really embarrassed me. Speaking of siblings, you don't know. I didn't know. I thought I just got some word while you were over there that siblings are okay. Yeah, I'm going to demonstrate with you one of these days, but I'm going to have to join up with you. I wouldn't give up that seed now from I know it ain't gonna do me no good. And I've tried it. I said, leave the pig alone. And just so I can convince myself I leave the pig alone. Somebody tell me what the pig is. Beef, ham house, chicken, barbecue ribs. I said, well, I'm with you. I don't mind getting him right, but I deserve I don't lose my cold. So we tell that FBI agent back there in the back to come on in and have a seat. Yeah, he's one. Upstairs west of the check. So anyway, let me finish telling you about the FBI. If the FBI ever tapped your phone like they tapped mine, see, they didn't know. They were just waiting. See, the FBI wasn't used to tapping no colored folks' phones. Yeah, they came in with $10,000 worth of equipment to shoot up so they could tap my phone. And 2 days after they set all that equipment up, my phone got cut off. I know y'all know what I'm talking about, but anything happened to you without the tap. So anyway, I feel now, well, I don't even want to talk about food no more. I send him telegrams every now and then, calling dirty names. You see, when the FBI tap your phone like they tap mine, you want to have some fun. You see, they don't know I know. So can you imagine how much fun I can have with them when they got my phone tapped and they don't know I know they tapped it? I have a ball. Yeah, and I mean they tap it, too. Yeah, you know how I know they tap it? I got 4 FBI agents and got so rich, lazy, just tapping my phone, getting my numbers that I put in. And then y'all ever put your numbers in and went home and prayed, and nothing happened? What that make you mad? I played my area code the other day and my zip code hit. I was so mad But anyway, let me tell you what I do to the FBI. Seeing that I know and they don't know. A couple of weeks ago, I flew into Chicago and called my wife from the airport. I said, hey, baby, just got in town. I want you to meet me downtown State Madison in about 2 hours and get the brown box and put the stuff in it. No, that doesn't tell nothing. One time I was so nervous, I had to be calling to Miss Grace what that brown box looked like. And she told me, sure enough, 2 hours later she met me downtown. I said, honey, don't look back. The agents are sitting in the car. They just hugged me and put the brown box on the ground. And they pulled one of them Hollywood switches. They picked up my box and left me their box. And I didn't make anything any worse. When we walked off, we didn't even pick up the box they left for us. And I know they were anxious to ship that box back to Judge Hoover so they could get a heavy case against me. And I know Hoover was upset when he opened up that box. There wasn't nothing in it but some dirty drawers. That's right. I had a big note pinned on them. Wash these and send them back to me. See, we all have problems. I'll tell you what happened to me not too long ago. In Chicago, a couple of cops came and knocked on the door. I walked the door and said, who is it? They said, police department. I said, the whole department? They said, no, it's just 2 of us. I said, why didn't you say it was just 2? So I put my little night latch on and opened the door about that much. I said, what do you want? He said, we have a search warrant to search your house. I looked at him and said, well, how do I know you the real police? Oh, that upset me. I said, if you don't open up this door, we're going to kick the door in. I said, yeah, I just what you thought that you do police. I said, but I got news for you. You can't see nothing through this little crack but my left hand. You don't know what I got in my right hand. Oh, he understood what I was talking about. The little one said, I thought you were supposed to be nonviolent. I said, I am nonviolent, but Adams Regional, baby. Baby, Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi. I had a cat when I was down there in jail in Mississippi, on jail walked up to me. He said, "Come here, nigga." And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "What would happen to me if I called you nigga in Chicago?" And he could tell the way I was looking at it, he was getting hurt. And he sat there with his gun out trying to make me mad. He said, "Well, I don't understand you. I can call you nigga down here and nothing happens. I call you nigga in Chicago and you get mad. Why?" I told him, simple. You call me nigga down here in Mississippi, that's my maiden name. If you ever call me nigga in Chicago, you find out we got married. Out there, trying to explain to the cops that I don't know if they're the real police, then he comes up with the bright idea. Why don't you call the precinct? Check us out. I said, "What precinct?" He said, 46th precinct, and that's where he made his first mistake. Well, he made a big mistake. How you going to tell me 46th precinct and didn't say Chicago? I can't do it. That you a Chicago cop. You tell me you supposed to be anyway. So I got on the phone and called New York City, 46th Street. And the Captain Bell in New York, 46th Street, the Captain Bell, I'm Big Gregory, two officers, as I was here from your precinct checking me out. The first one, he checked the books and let me know if they were legitimate police. And naturally, he didn't find no record. He said, "No, we have no record of this." So I said, "Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it." And I hung up and called the FBI. Now, I didn't tell the FBI that I called New York. Yes, and on the Federal Bureau of Investigation, I said, "You the FBI?" They didn't like for you to call them that. He said, "Yes." I said, "I have two officers out here co-keeping 46th Precinct, and I called the 46th Precinct, and they have no record of it. So that means the two guys impersonating law enforcement officers, which means I could settle crime. Would you please send two Mr. FBI agents out here and check them out for me?" He said, "Right away." And when the FBI said they sent somebody to my house right away, they mean right away. So chances are they man out in the bushes watching already, you know. So now I asked you now to go back to the door and call these cats. It's time to get there. And I did. I walked back and I told him, I said, "Look, man, I just saw New York City." Didn't lie to him. I just saw New York City and they never heard of you. And I said, "Chicago, you idiot." I said, "Don't call me no idiot. You can keep my right hand now." So I went back and I called Chicago 46th Precinct. The guy got real upset. "You mean you haven't let him in yet?" I said, "Cool it, baby. I just time to check him out." You tell me one thing. These two cops you sent by my house, are they white or colored? He said, "What do they look like to you?" I'm not buying them with me. I know. Hell, I know what they are. So, thank you very much. While I'm on the phone, now I'm here. The FBI coming up the stairway. So I run up to the cop and I say, "Okay, buddy, you're real police, but it is my legitimate right to read your search warrant before I let you in." And the cop says, "Flip through the door," and sure enough, it says they were looking for a little brown box that might contain narcotics. So I went and got him a little brown box and flipped it through the little crack. I said, "Now you can't come in my house because what you're looking for you have out there. And you never proved you got out my house because I proved you never been in here." Oh, they raised their hell, talking about kicking the door down. And just about that time, the two FBI agents walked up and said, "Can we help you, Mr. Gregory?" I said, "Yeah, them two cops out there trying to sell me some dope." I mean, you know, it's like there's just so much going on. So much going on. It just scares me to death. I got drunk the other night evening now. But I'm Baptist, you know, that goes in my religion. And I was trying to call my wife and ended up dialing the wrong number and ended up with the United States Weather Bureau. That's the United States Weather Department. You know how busy these guys are this time of year. I tried to apologize. I said, I'm Dick Gregory. Before I could apologize, he said, Dick Gregory? I said, yes. He said, well, what you calling us for? We report the weather fair. And you know that really made me mad. I said, just for that, we're going to demonstrate against you. The guy said, how in the world are you going to demonstrate against the Weather Bureau? I said, simple. Out of all the tornadoes we've had this year and all the hurricanes we've had this year, you have yet to name one of them something colored. So the next hurricane that we have, and you don't name Hurricane Beulah, you're a troublemaker. All I have to say is so much going on. I mean, I read so much in the paper, I just don't know if I'm going to. And I never been so upset in my life when I picked up the paper and read where Red China exploded a nuclear bomb, and our State Department said, don't worry about it, it's primitive. Yeah, did you see that? Yeah, man. I sent him a telegram. I said, what do you mean? You talking about Red China's nuclear blast is primitive, and you worried about my switchblade. Fool. They sent me a telegram back trying to explain it. We felt that the nuclear blast Red China blasted off was primitive because it would take them 25 years to develop a vehicle to deliver it over here. And I sent them a telegram right back. I said, baby, do you realize the Red Chinese have something like 688 million folks and they can hand carry that damn bomb over here? Now, let me tell you something. Do you realize 688 million of them red cats? If them cats ever start thinking we shall overcome, they're going to do it. And do you realize they got more census takers than we got people? We talking about fighting Red China. Do you realize that 688 million of them cats is right down underneath us now? On the other, you know they right down there? Yeah. Wouldn't it be wild if all of them got high tomorrow and stopped this foot at the same time? Well, I sure wish we had 688 million Negroes in Mississippi. See some changes made there in the morning, wouldn't it? Martin Luther King would be governor. Malcolm X be police chief. And the FBI wouldn't be allowed in the whole state. I was at the Republican convention. Were you Republican convention? Well, you miss Barry Goldwater. He'll be on television next Wednesday night. Don't miss him. He's on from 8 to 7:30. And he's coming on to explain what happened, you know. I talked to Goldwater before the election, and I told him, I said, you better get up off these fellows back, because you don't know how many of it is. He's got thinking X amount of us. I tried to tell him, I said, you realize we got some buildings in Harlem that so many Negroes live in each building got their own mayor? He didn't believe me, but he found out the hard way. And now he talking about he won 5 southern. He didn't win no 5 southern states. The only reason he won those 5 southern states because the brother couldn't vote. So actually, he won really legitimate one state. He almost lost that, which was his own state. And that really would have been embarrassing. He couldn't have carried his own home state. That would be like the Pope can't carry Rome. So I say all that to say that we have solved many problems, but Goldwater out there at the convention, his acceptance speech, you heard about the acceptance around the world. It was a very effective acceptance speech. Matter of fact, the speech was so effective, it tell me 12 mountains came out of eyes. But the one part that shook up everybody when Goldwater said extremism in defense of liberty is no fight. Remember that? And 2 days after he said that, y'all tried at me in Harlem. Remember? And got shot at. But everybody called it looting and rioting. You know what they called it here, rioting, looting. I didn't call what happened to me in Harlem riots or looting. I called it a little light skirmish. You see, I had to call it that for simple reasons. You see, last year when I was down in Birmingham, remember when we marched in Birmingham? Cops beat the hell out of us, and they called that a demonstration. Remember that? This year y'all march in Harlem and beat the hell out of a couple of cops. That's a riot. Now you figure it out. And then you see the great picture that came out of Harlem and went all over the world. The Negro standing there with the Coke bottles, and the cops standing next to him with the bazooka. And Martin Luther King standing in the middle saying, "Cool it, baby, we win." Because I found out later we talked to that cop. Hey, look here, I have a plane I have to get out of here, and I wish I had more time, but it sure is a beautiful crowd you have here, and I couldn't think of a better way to welcome home the boss. Well, you boss, you know that, don't you? Everything gonna be all right. I just want to know folks before I split. Are you going you supposed to celebrate Christmas this year, as you decide? Hey, we'd like to say thank you so much. Oh, wait a minute. I can remind you about the new books on the market, nigger. That's right. Please don't act like you never heard the word. Dedicated the book to my mother, dedicated to you. Dear Mom, wherever you are, if ever you hear the word nigger again, remember to get advertising my book. See, the good thing about the book being out now is when I go back into the deep south, usually when I go in the 50-50, those sheriffs grab me and always say, "How you doing, nigger?" Now when I go down there and he grabs me, "How you doing, nigger?" I tell him, "Nigger doing pretty good." 449,000 copies worth of good. And I'm going to be honest with you, the height of my ambition is to put a nigger in everybody's home. At $4.95 per nigger. Now I want to tell you folks something before I quit. When you go to the bookstore to order the book, don't be embarrassed. You know what I'm talking about. You understand what I'm talking about? Don't be embarrassed. I mean, don't be walking in the bookstore, sleeping up to the clerk, talking about, "Hey, give me one of them whatchamacallit." And nobody never called you no whatchamacallit, man. Matter of fact, be proud of the book. Matter of fact, when you walk into the bookstore, don't even go inside the door. Just stand out on the sidewalk with your money in your hand and call and say, "Hey, bring me a couple of them niggers out here." I would like to remind you of one thing, that Christmas is just a couple of weeks off, and a couple of niggas sure would look good on the street, baby. I would like to remind you of one thing, that Christmas is just a couple of weeks off, and a couple of niggas sure would look good on the street, baby. I have a lot of people writing me, asking me about street. No more. I say no more because I did mail one of them to beginning. Why, I wasn't that tough on him having my book. I was just determined to get me a nigger in the White House. That's One more, come on. Get regular.
You know, when Dick first stood up, I passed him this note which says, you know, he has to jump out to Chicago. Which said, told him your flight has been canceled, you don't have to rush. So he was set to stay with us for a while, and then they handed him another note later on which says, the airport called back and said your flight is leaving on schedule. He did got disconnected. He can turn them on and off at will. Now, brothers and sisters, you know, he can turn them on and off at will. Now, brothers and sisters, you know, first I'm very thankful that Dick has been able to come out with us tonight. As I said, he is a freedom fighter. You see him on the forefront of the battle line, and in this country, wherever a black man is, there is a battle line. Whether it's in the north, south, east, or west, you and I are living in a country that is a battle line for all of us. And tonight, I'm more than honored with the presence of a person who has been credited with being responsible for correcting the governmental system in an area of this earth where the system wasn't so good prior to the effort put forth by him. Many of you have heard of the island called Zanzibar. Zanzibar was famous for its headquarters as a slave trading post. In fact, many of us probably passed through there on our way to America 400 years ago. And it was on this island, sometime last year, I think it was, that the government was overturned. When the African element on the island got fed up, the government was overturned. When the African element on the island got fed up with the situation that existed, and overnight they did what was necessary to bring about a change. So today, Zanzibar is free. As soon as it got its freedom, it got together with Tanganyika, where President Nyerere is. And the combination of Zanzibar and Tanganyika recently became known as the Republic of Tanzania. Two countries that united and are one of the most militant and uncompromising when it comes to the struggle for freedom for our people on the African continent as well as over here anywhere else in this earth. And when I was in Africa, Cairo, for the Summit Conference, most of you know that my purpose for going there was to try and get the heads of the African states to realize that they had 22 million brothers and sisters here in America who were catching hell, and that they could put forth a great effort and give us a boost if they would let the world know that they were on our side and with us in our struggle against this racism that we've been victimized by in this country for so long. And the press tried to make it appear that the African countries, the African heads of state, were in no way concerned with the plight of the Afro-Americans. But at that conference, toward the end of it, all of the African heads of state got together, and they did pass a resolution thoroughly condemning the continued practice of racism against the Afro-Americans in this country, and thoroughly supporting the struggle of the 22 million Afro-Americans in this practice of racism against the Afro-Americans in this country, and thoroughly supporting the struggle of the 22 million Afro-Americans in this country in our effort towards human rights. And I'm proud to state that the one who was responsible for bringing that resolution forth and getting it agreed upon by the other African heads of state was probably the last one that you and I would expect to do it because of the image that he's been given in this country. But the one who came forth and suggested that the African Summit Conference pass a resolution thoroughly condemning the mistreatment of Afro-Americans in America and also thoroughly supporting the freedom struggle for human rights of our people in this country was President Julius Nyerere. Julius Nyerere. I was honored to spend 3 hours with him when I was in Tanganyika in Dar es Salaam, which is now Tanzania. And it was shortly before it became known as Tanzania. I was also able to stay there, I think, for about 7 days. And just before this took place, the one who made it possible for me to see him is with us here tonight. When the revolution took place on Zanzibar, you and I read about it in this country. They tried to make it appear that it was something that was Chinese or Soviet or everything but what it was. They tried to, again, build that image that would make you and me react to it negatively. And the one whom the Western press said was the guiding hand behind that successful revolution is with us on the platform tonight. I have the greatest honor to introduce to you at this time the Minister of from Tanzania, a man who is very closely associated with President Julius Nyerere, the one who is responsible for bringing freedom to the people on the island of Zanzibar and linking them up with Tanganyika and developing it into the Republic of Tanzania. He's known as Sheikh Abdul Rahman Mohammed Babu. And before he comes forth, he just left a dinner with another very good friend of ours, and I say a very good friend of ours, and I want to point out this. I don't let anybody choose my friends, and you shouldn't let anybody choose your friends. You and I should practice the habit of weighing people and weighing situations and weighing groups and weighing government for ourselves. And don't let somebody else tell us who our enemies should be and who our friends should be. I love a revolutionary. And one of the most revolutionary men in this country right now was going to come out here tonight along with our friend Sheikh Babu. But he thought better of it, but he did send this message. He says, "Dear brothers and sisters of Holland, I would have liked to have been with you and Brother Babu, but the actual conditions are not good for this meeting. Receive the warm salutations of the Cuban people, and especially those of Fidel, who remembers enthusiastically his visit to Harlem a few years ago. United we will win. This is from Che Guevara." I'm happy to hear that warm round of applause in return, because it lets the man know that he is not in a position today to tell us who we should applaud for and who we shouldn't applaud for. And you don't see no anti-Castro Cubans around here. We eat them up. Let them go and fight the Ku Klux Klan or the White Citizens Council. Let them spend some of that energy getting their own house in order. Don't come up in Harlem and tell us who we should applaud for and shouldn't applaud for. Or there'll be some anti-Castro Cubans. So, brothers and sisters, again at this time, a very good friend of mine, I'm honored to call him my friend. He treated me as a brother when I was in Dar es Salaam. I met his family, I met his children. They are wonderful. He's a family man. Most people don't think of revolutionaries as a family man. All you do is see him in his image on the battle line, but when you see him with his children and with his wife in that atmosphere at home, you realize that revolutionaries are human beings too. So here is a man who's not only a revolutionary, but he's a husband. Could be yours. He's a father. He could be yours. He's a brother. He could be yours. And I say he is ours. Sheikh Babu.